Hi, everybody. I'm here today with Pino, CEO and owner of BeaverTails Canada. Pino, thank you so much for joining us today. I am really excited about our conversation.
Sam, I'm excited about every conversation I have with you, but this is just even more fun.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm Samantha Bateman, president of Integrity Consulting. And what we're trying to do with Inside the C-Suite is to demystify what life looks like at the top. And so I had reached out to you, Pino, as a business owner and as the curator of a beloved brand. To see, if you wanted to have a chat around what that looks like in the C-suite for BeaverTails, and you were gracious enough to say yes. So welcome and thank you.
Thank you. Excited to do this.
So for those of you that are listening during this chat, if you want to put in some comments or questions in the chat yourself, then we'll get to it a little bit later. And I know Pino will have some fun with some of those questions. I have some set questions here, but Pino and I are going to be a little bit unscripted today because
we often are. Yes, it's not fair because we do this off stream all the time. So yeah.
That's true. So first of all, can we just have a shout out to our Olympic Canadian women's hockey team for winning silver yesterday? I don't care if it was silver. They rock. They're amazing.
I don't care that it was silver, but they did great. Yes.
Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah.
And we've got men's hockey tomorrow, but they did great and we're super proud of them. So Pino, take us back to the beginning. I want to go to the beginning because there's been a lot of interviews with you. You've been really, so kind in terms of giving your time to people who, want to learn more about you and about, what you've built over the years in this family business. And I'm really curious, talk to me about how BeaverTails started. Many of us know the story, but what was that first spark for you?
I rarely say it in these words, but as I get older, I guess I get a little bit more nostalgic. The first spark for me, and my wife kind of makes fun of me a lot for this, but I'm born in Canada. My twin brother and I and my sister were all born in Canada, but my parents were immigrants. Yeah. And I think the spark was really watching my parents, who were incredibly loving and hardworking, everything you would want in a family. Mm-hmm. And to watch them be that and work so hard to build their business on the side, I saw struggle firsthand, but without realizing it was struggle. Mm-hmm. I think hard work was just something we celebrated.
What was their business?
My dad came, so they met in Canada. My dad came to Canada not understanding or speaking English or French, learned it quickly. He was a very cerebral man. Went to McGill in accounting and ended up finishing first in Quebec and third in Canada.
Oh my God!
And he spoke better French and probably better English than I did by the time he passed away. No accent whatsoever. Like you would never have thought it. And a lot of the times have developed incredible businesses that we see all over Montreal. For his generation, it was a bit more unique to have been in the professional services. Yeah. They didn't always have the chance to go to university. My dad's grandparents struggled to allow him to do that. Mm-hmm. And for me, I didn't know any better. I thought that kind of sacrifice was just normal. No. And that, I think, way before BeaverTails was a thing, that was me.
Yeah.
And then when I was 11, much to my dad's amusement, we lived next to a golf course in the East End. And at the ripe old age of 11, I started selling soft drinks and golf balls to the golfers who were at the golf course. And
I did at heart.
Well, except at 11, I didn't know. Like, I just thought I was making pocket money.
Yeah.
But my dad watched me, and looking back, I guess, again, that perseverance. But I got sunburned like you can't believe, because I was out 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like if my parents needed to take me to a family function or whatever, they had to reserve me and say, you can't do your thing Sunday afternoon or whatever. But that was just what I did.
Yeah.
And then enter BeaverTails, which serendipity, they would come from Ottawa to their store at Larome, the founders from Ottawa, and they would, from Ottawa, cross the Mercier Bridge, go along the South Shore, and come back on the Jacques-Cartier Bridge. Anybody who drives in Montreal realizes that makes absolutely no sense. That they had no GPS. That was just the way that they did it for whatever reason. They passed one school on the way that happened to be an English school. It was Champlain. That was where I was in student council. They came in one day and said, we want to place an ad to hire a manager. I had just been turned down for my job interview at Esprit, which was kind of like the
Oh, yes,
Esprit. Those were good days. Yeah, no, they didn't want me. So out that job went, and I'm like, I'll take this job. I have nothing else going on.
Yeah.
And so I tell my kids, you know, we struggle in today's world. We all look outside for influence and happiness, and I don't know what will make me happy. Let me doom scroll for 80 hours on TikTok, and I'm sure I'll find inspiration. I had no idea when I took this backup job that I would be CEO and owner with my twin and my wife like 35 years later. That's but great. When they say the overnight success story that takes 35 short years, yeah, that's what it is. And what I tell my kids is, if you don't get fired, it's amazing what good things could happen to you. But what I really mean is stick it out.
Yeah.
We live in this world where, I don't want to own a car. Communoto. I don't want to own the sweater I just bought. Klarna. I'll buy it on payments. Yeah. I don't want to be committed to my spouse for more than 10 years. Divorce. Like, everything is disposable in this world. Yeah. We need a little bit of commitment.
And grit. And it's, and you always say, and you and I have talked about this before, there's no hunger in paradise, right?
As my youngest son says, adversity builds character. I'm sure you heard it from me at some point. He says it as he rolls his eyes, but it's true.
It is true. It is true. And it doesn't just build character, but I'm a firm believer that we learn way more from our failures than we ever will from our successes, right? Like, success is just, yay, good job. You did well. You hit the nail on the head. But from your failures, those things sting, right? And
yep.
They stay around.
The class of hard knocks. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but when I think about, it's just the other day, I was thinking, I was remembering how I went to speak at a university function, and one of the students raised his hand and he said, you talk about getting a job in university or college, and he's like, I came here from another country, and he's like, we come here not to have to struggle while we're here in university. Like, I'm going back to my home country after. And he's like, what's the deal with Canadians and working in university? I was like, working in university? I'm like, we're working at 14, 15, right? Babysitting and cutting the lawn. And I had these two boys come to my door they're in grade 6 to shovel and I was like, I don't need it, but yes, I'm going to hire you because I want to encourage you. Right.
So yeah. One of you to bring the snow in and the other one to remove it.
Exactly. Great. But it teaches them that the world does not love you unconditionally. Yeah. Your parents that's their job, is to love you unconditionally. But if you learn from a young age that you need to talk to customers in a certain way, you need to, be smart.
And hold on, we're both parents and we both love our kids, but to love unconditionally is necessary. But we have to teach our kids. Mm-hmm. And we live in a world where I read a statistic that over 57% of HR professionals have reported having a parent come to speak to them or see them about an employee's performance review.
Oh, wow. Ow.
So now 57% or 100% of that 57% think they're loving unconditionally.
Yeah. As my daughter would say, secondhand embarrassment, right?
I don't think those kids or employees, whatever, young adults, I don't think they would even see it as an embarrassment. Because I think if they did, they would have the grit and resilience to have made it through.
Well, helicopter parents. So, but then we don't do any, we don't give our kids any skills when you're doing that, right? You want to be there for them, but I don't think our job is to what?
Because as Professor G says it on his podcast, we have removed the ability to fail.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Like when you think about kind of early failures, right? What did they teach you? What was one that really stung, but that made the business better or made you?
Well, failure number one was not getting the job I really, really wanted.
Sure.
And it taught me,
That's true.
Nobody wants to work in fast food, right? Even back then, even if it was at Laurent, the amusement park, but I got stung and okay, let's try this.
Yeah.
And then, the big early failures. I was a big proponent back then of my brother and I each did our MBA at McGill, and of course, school, winter, Laurent, the amusement park, summer. Not only a perfect schedule, every research project we both did in the MBA was like on BeaverTails because you had the data, so it was hard to prove us wrong, but also because we wanted to make the business better. But I was a big proponent of let's fail early. We're still living at home and we get to do this stuff. Well, let me tell you, it's never as easy as that. But we opened up 93. I'm terrible with dates, give or take 93. 1993 for the young people listening. We opened up at the Faubourg Sainte-Catherine. Mostly Concordia University, which at the time, in fairness, there was no Sunday shopping in Quebec, which again, we'd have to explain this. That's a separate podcast altogether, but there was nowhere to go on a Sunday. So you went there. Well, within 6 months of us opening, Sunday shopping was abolished or permitted. The law forbidding it was abolished. Right. And within 6 months after that, the old forum moved from St. Catherine and Atwater over to the new Bell Center. We closed that store.
Wow.
And at the time, it was like this. We only had 2 stores. It was Laurent and that one. We closed 50% of our chain, if you will.
Yeah. So, but wait a second, because I think sometimes, you know what, you see this all the time on like Dragon's Den and Shark Tank, people that are hanging on by tooth and nail to like this idea that they have, right? At what point did you say, we're pulling the trigger, we're closing it down, and just to cut your losses on that location? Because I think a lot of times people think I just need to work harder or maybe, try marketing strategy. Like
partly the fallacy of the sunk cost, which even if you don't learn that in accounting, you know it as a human being. It's like, well, I spend so much on this sweater that I don't like. I got to wear it every day. There's part of that. I think for us, my wife has this beautiful, she's our creative director, so she should think this way, and she does, and it's beautiful. But she often says, nobody needs a BeaverTail. You want a BeaverTail, right? So
really badly. We want a BeaverTail really badly.
Good. I like that. Thank you. That is really a way of saying that we're an impulse purchase. And so it happens, and it happened early on when I was still an employee, when they hired me on that fateful day at Champlain College, and they hired me to work as a manager at Laurent. There were 2 stores. We had an employee per store, and the manager was the one who went to mop the floors back and forth and help the employees when they were, lined up. The early days were rough. The first years, we gave away more BeaverTails than we sold, but every one that we gave away, we would cut in 12. Put a line down the middle and a few down the side to make little pieces. So we probably sold 1 to 2, like 2 times more were given away, but cut in 12, it's 24 times more clients were sampling than buying. It was rough. And I was watching this saying, I don't know what these guys hired me to do. This is not a business model. Like there's nothing in the cash register here.
For people who don't know, because I think a lot of people think that you and your brother started BeaverTails from scratch, right? But in fact, you were working for the Hooker family, right?
That's right. Grant and Pam Hooker from Ottawa started it in Ottawa. Laurent was celebrating its 20th anniversary
Oh,
and
wow.
decided from Expo 67
Yeah.
and decided 1987, we've got to bring in bigger brands. And they
Mm,
went and got a small hamburger place called McDonald's. That's when they went into Laurent.
right.
And, I should remember. There were a few others and Humble BeaverTails. It was the first one outside of Ottawa.
Wow.
And nobody in Montreal knew what a beaver tail was unless you had skated on the Rideau Canal,
Right.
which now we all say, yeah, I did that 3 years ago or 10 years ago or whatever. Back then, even the Rideau Canal was a new
Yeah.
phenomenon. And so they hired me as the manager. But the reality is, we were working the front lines. Myself and the assistant managers were serving clients. And what we saw, which that was my earliest lesson in branding, not even 101, it was like branding 01, was people would wait in line and get to the counter and say, I heard that this thing is amazing.
Yeah.
And then as the years went by, we know like our lines at Laurent were like an hour and 20 minutes long.
Longer than the ride.
Well, that's the forgiving part. Whether you have to wait for the parking, you have to wait to get in, you have to wait to go on the monster. It's all it's all relative, I guess. But to see that in our clients' eyes, I understood that okay, this is not a product. This is a thing.
Okay, so when did it become a thing? Because for as long as I can remember, BeaverTails was synonymous with Canadiana, right? It's winter, it's summer, it's family memories, it's Tremblant, it's Ottawa, it's Calgary, it's Banff, right? I think I sent you a picture when I picture.
Well, and so the management gurus will have this phrase that says think local and act international, act global. We didn't set out doing that, but we know from our surveys and from our client interactions that the folks in Calgary will say when they have visitors from out of town, you've got to come and try this thing that is just so Calgary, and they go to Banff. And just a little bit north, if you visit your friends in Edmonton, they'll say, well, we're going to go to Jasper. You got to do this thing that is just so Canadian.
Yeah.
And in Vancouver, they go to Grouse or Whistler. And in Toronto, they go to the harbor front or one of the beaches or up to Blue Mountain. In Montreal, we go to Tremblant or Old Montreal. Or Distrant to a lesser degree, right? Because that's more commercial. But across Canada, coast to coast to coast, because we are now proudly in Nunavut, people see it as their own.
Yeah.
And that became a thing serendipitously. I wish we could say, it was all planned out and strategic. You'd have to have a lot of patience and a lot of money to have done it that way. But our product was perfect for these iconic, beautiful places that make Canada, Canada. And those places are more majestic and beautiful and powerful than our brand could ever be. But our brand became the snack that punctuates those memories.
Oh, that's good, Pino. That is really
amazing. I dabble in marketing, so I try.
I love, but it's true. It's so true. It's fun. I think I shared with you. I took a family member, my godson, to BeaverTails, and he'd never tried a beaver tail before. And they had the one at Distrant. I don't think you have it at all locations, but I think I told you they have a bell there, and it says, "If this is your first beaver tail, ring the bell." So he rang that bell. He was so excited. He was like, oh my God. I think he had like the chocolate with banana. And I mean, it was so decadent. He was so happy, just like, yes, it's my first time. And now it's a thing for him, right?
Now it's a thing. And now, we'll wait for him to bring his kids to ring the bell. The bell is in all our flagship stores.
Okay.
Those stores, the brick and mortars, if you will, they tell the story. As opposed to our amusement parks and our trucks, which do hundreds, thousands of events and activations, we call them. There are embassies. We satisfy the cravings. We come to you.
Yeah.
But the flagships are like the temples of BeaverTails, Canadian deliciousness, Canadian happiness, all things good that are Canadian.
So, you've talked about, I've heard you speak in other interviews about how, a predictor of success is not education or money, but it's really perseverance, right? And I mean, this brand has been going on for a really long time. When did you purchase? Was it in 2001?
No, 2001, the head office in Ottawa. So there's another, you want to talk about failures. We could go on and on and on. Just turn off the device or the timer and let's keep going. But the guys in Ottawa, it was a bunch of ad people. Like, there's a great and terrible slogan that says, "Advertising is the tax you pay for being unremarkable." Oh, yeah. And we struggle with that line a lot. I should probably have it emblazoned somewhere in the office. There's a great book, one of the top 3 books in my lifetime. Denise Lee Yon from California wrote What Great Brands Do. Okay. And she says, if a brand is special enough and celebrates its DNA sufficiently proudly and strongly, you don't need advertising. And so you think of the Apples of the world where the advertising is built into the product.
Yeah.
BeaverTails has never succeeded when we've done advertising. We don't even like to call it marketing. We call it branding.
Okay.
Yvon Chouinard, second generation Quebecer.
Yes.
He moved down to Maine before he went out west to start Patagonia.
Yeah.
Just gave
yeah.
Yes. And I think he mentions this in there. He gave Patagonia to a trust now. It might be an employee-owned trust that, anyway, it doesn't matter. But he basically gave it away in order to protect the eternal vision that they would stand for anything environmental. So his whole thing is, we were built for that, and I don't ever want to become a public company or sold out to private equity. Yeah. We have to preserve that goal. And somebody said to him, Mr. Chouinard, sounds like this is a dangerous business move, like you're giving it away. Is that not risky? And he very astutely answered, in my life, and he's 80, God bless him, or close to, in my life, every time I have bet in favor of my brand's environmental principles, I have never been not financially rewarded. In other words, his DNA is so strong that he's actually learned the hard way or the easy way.
Yeah.
If I double down on what I stand for, which in his case is environmentalism, it always comes back to pay me.
Well, we saw that with Ben and Jerry's too. Right?
And we continue to see it. Even sold to Unilever, the founders continue to stick for their principles and celebrate their DNA. It sounds so cliche, but
yeah. So what are the values? Okay, so many questions. What are the values that you espouse, with your team? And also I want to get back to, some failures that stung.
Yeah, lots of time for failures. We have two sets of values. So we have our management values, which is reflexive excellence, resourcefulness, resilience. Those are classic management principles.
Yes.
Our average consumer who waits an hour in line and wants to eat a beaver tail doesn't care less about those, nor should they. So our public facing or our product values are, we are Canadian. No matter where we are in the world, we are Canadian. And that doesn't mean we fly the flag like some other countries that we won't mention might do. Being Canadian is being polite and humble.
Yeah.
But we will always be proud to be Canadian, no matter where we are in the world. And we are indulgent. And I can tell you the story of this is sad, another failure. The most indulgent failure we have ever had was we released for our 25th anniversary, almost 25 years ago. We released 2 new flavors. One was the Avalanche, because we were starting to do stores at Ski Hills. Cream cheese icing, score bits, and caramel sauce. Pretty good. I like the pistachio chocolate myself, but that one's pretty good.
We still have that one, the Avalanche. Yes.
We do.
Yes. Okay.
Good point.
Yes.
You'll see why. We released that one. we released maple with more improved maple taste, more maple syrup in the maple, and we gave all our employees plaid shirts, which we still wear now in our flagship stores. And because at the time the health thing was starting to be a thing, so we said, okay, we'll do a healthy flavor. Organic peaches from Ontario with real whipped cream.
Oh, the whipped cream on hot beaver tail. Yeah.
It was good. It tasted really good. But Samantha, never before or after have we had to. Sometimes we'll have stock that comes close to date. We'll give it to food banks.
Yeah.
That stock turned before we knew it.
But who doesn't love peaches? What happened?
Well, what happened is, if I want something that even sounds healthy,
yeah, you're not going to go to beaver tails.
Yeah, I'll have it at home, or I'll go to some salad shop. If I want indulgence, so people tell us all the time, I'm on a diet. Saturday's my cheat day. I can't wait. I'm going to BeaverTails.
The Kalalo, what is it? The Kalalo
sunrise.
Oh, that's my favorite. If anybody hasn't tried it, cinnamon and sugar and lemon.
Fresh lemon.
So
not
good.
A huge seller. Amazing sweet and sour taste. Like the balance is wild on that one.
Okay.
But people don't think of it because, chocolate hazelnut with brownies and drizzle on top. Sign me up.
Yeah.
But that's part of it. So when I talk about our values, we are unashamedly indulgent. We are here. And guess what? So there's a thing that happens in Banff, which we had nothing to do with, but it's kind of a anthropological reality. People take a picture because beaver tails are flat.
Yeah.
They're not Instagrammable. But our fans, God bless every one of them, have figured out that if you hold it at an angle with a roller coaster in the background or the Canadian Rockies. So in Banff, in the middle of the street, because we have a store on either side of the street, but the median in the middle, which is about 3.5 feet wide, has become our Instagram totem.
The mountains in the back.
That's right. And that gives the height.
That gives the height. Yeah. So
Bill,
Pino, when you talk about that as being a failure in terms of that product didn't work, it sounds like you got a lot more clarity in terms of, okay, so if our consumers are telling us this, then we're going to just get very close and comfy with this idea of indulgence, right?
That's right. And I'll give you, this is also a failure turned exactly the same spin you just put. We long talked about, we do poutine because it's Canadian. We're not a poutine store by any stretch, but you don't go to McDonald's and not have the fries with your burger. So some people want a bit more with their beaver tail. Yep. We're not going to do fries. You could order fries, but they're not on a menu. We want you to have a poutine. We're Canadian. And even in our 2 US stores, it's real Quebec gravy, real Quebec cheese.
Cheese curds, yes. Quebec cheese curds.
It's over the border, but we do it because it's got to be the real thing. And so early on, we talked about, well, if we do this, we should put the poutine on a beaver tail. That would be crazy. And we resisted because we were afraid, the health nuts are going to get all over us. And it's too much. And then one day, April Fools, we get light up on social media because Huffington Post did a mock story on a Canadian company that cornered the market on Canadian food by making a beaver tail with a poutine and maple syrup. And I came into the office that day and I said, shame on us because this is 2 jokes. One, the joke that's funny, and it was funny, they called it a poo tail. I said, but the second joke is really on us. It's why did they celebrate unashamedly what we are? And we put that thing on our menu and we called it the poo tail. And it's still on the menu today.
That's awesome.
And it's not for everyone, but that's who we are. It is for snowboarders. Young male snowboarders love the poo tail.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay.
There you go. Somebody put in the comments, poo tail. There you go.
Poo tail. Yes. Yes. It's crazy to me though, how this, like, the ups and downs of business and there've been so much. I mean, look, COVID, there was a recession, there's, I don't know, this crazy period of, I don't know, are we in a recession? It's just kind of a weird time.
Malaise is the best word. It's just a dark.
Yeah. Yeah. When the economy or, you know, what's going on in the world is a little bit crazy, I mean, are those the types of situations that kind of keep you up at night in terms of what's going to happen to the business, or is it something completely different?
Well, they keep me up as a human, and I think these days they should keep all of us up as humans and as parents. And that's not, you know, we talk about work-life balance. I mean, we work, most of our day is spent working. That's part of your life. So I think we have to realize that, you know, my youngest also says, I don't want to talk about politics. I don't want to learn about politics. And it's like, well, yeah, you do, because this is the world we live in. So I have a hard time unraveling this ball of wax and saying I'm only going to focus on that part. This is all part of the whole here.
Right.
That said, a big lesson I've learned in branding is that you really have to identify your DNA. And the book that has most marked me in life, so Denise Leon was one, but another one is the Blue Ocean Strategy, which a lot of people think about.
Yes.
And I think that's fundamental to branding, is you got to build a brand that ultimately has a unique story. I mean, that's a gross simplification of what the book is about, but basically we'll leave it at that for the purposes of this chat. If you have a sufficiently unique story, you can then double down, celebrate that story, and build competitive moats around other stories. And that gives you relief from competitive pressure, is the short of it. So I don't celebrate recessions because I don't take joy in seeing fellow citizens suffer.
Yeah.
But from a BeaverTails perspective, every time there is a recession, we actually boom a little bit. And that is because...
That's why.
Well, yeah, maybe we need to drown ourselves in that. But more practically, it's kids, we can't go to Europe or Florida this year. We're going to go to Blue Mountain.
Right.
Or we can go to Tremblant, but we can't have the steak dinner.
Yeah.
But we can have the beaver tail.
Yeah.
As opposed to when times are booming, hey, we're going to Europe, and when we come back, we're going to do a weekend in Tremblant, and we're going to celebrate with a beaver tail. We are that little indulgence, right? So, I mean, Starbucks lives a similar reality where you can't afford the Louis Vuitton, but I'll buy the $8 latte every day, and at the end of the year, that's 2 Louis Vuittons, but who's counting?
Pino, how do you build resilience on your teams? Like, as a leader, right? Like, what do you find that sometimes resilience is lacking, and like how can you build it? Or do you just identify talent that has had a story around?
Well, so my team, shout out to my team now. We had the dream team before COVID, and then we had to let a bunch of them go by mistake. We thought restaurants were dead.
Right.
We doubled sales during COVID.
Wow.
In the dark early days when we were shut, before people started figuring out that we could, whatever, leave the 3 feet between clients or whatever, there was a dark period. And that was a tough time for our team, and we lost some great people and great friends in the process. Through COVID, I call COVID the period of the COVID clowns. I think COVID, a lot went wrong everywhere. But I think COVID, well, because let's call a spade a spade. COVID empowered us to rewrite the rules.
Yeah.
Guess what? Some of the rules were there for a good reason. So imagine tomorrow morning we say, okay, we're going to get rid of all the rules on the highway. We don't need bumpers. We don't need seatbelts. We don't need guardrails. God, we don't need speed limits. Drinking and driving, forget it, off to the races. So we rewrote everything. And I don't think as a society we're built for everything we rewrote.
Yeah. So are you talking about work life? Are you talking about remote work versus hybrid?
Big time.
Yeah.
And then some. I was on a podcast with a dear old friend from Champlain from the days of when I was hired. He's in accounting. He's in accounting. Works at BDO. And Mike says to me, he says, I have a hard time teaching, and it's not just young people. Actually, it's far from just young people. I have a great story to share there too. But he says, I have a hard time teaching some of my colleagues the difference between a job and a career. Mm. Now, if you want a job, trade to the other guy who's going to give you 50 cents more. Trade to the other guy that's going to give you 2 weeks more vacation. Trade to the other girl that's going to let you work from home. Mm. Trade transactionally all you want. Mm. But if you want a career, you're doubling down. I often ask, are we doing this to be able to work less? Or are we doing this to be able to achieve more? Those are worlds apart. And I think that in today's world, and I think COVID very much, I think this was going on before COVID, but COVID was like, okay, let's shake up this bottle of champagne before we uncork it, Mm. What do we want from life? I often also ask, and this is, I'm a proud Loyola alumni. I'm still very involved with that school. The Jesuits have been teaching young people somewhere just under 500 years. Very lucky. Maybe they know what they're doing. Yeah, maybe that too. And the Jesuits often talk about form the person and not just the career. Mm. You're building a holistic person. And I think with COVID, a lot of that went away. And we really have become, I want a job. Career, yeah, not so much.
It's interesting because I've spoken to a lot of people about this. And, keep in mind, this is my home office, right? So let me stand on my and talk about how you should go to the office every day. But, I would say it's interesting because, look, we had to scale back our team during COVID too. It was, you talk about, waking up at 2, 3 in the morning, sick to my stomach, checking my bank account, oh my God, how much longer is this going to go on? And my team was all remote. By the nature of the work that we do, and also during COVID, everything switched, right? Clients didn't want to meet us. Our clients also were working hybrid or remote. So, but one of the things that I was thinking about was when I worked in an office, if I was low on work, or if I was like, what's going on with the economy, or something is, we seem to be, or just with the business, it seems to be a little bit slower, I'm slower, I would go see my manager to say, I don't have enough work, or is there some other projects I can get involved in? Or I would ask a colleague, right? Is there something you're working on? And I remember having conversations with my team, and not to say that I did right by them by having to restructure the team. And it's still very painful actually to talk about, but
it always is. Yeah.
Telling my team, guys, payroll costs, $30,000 a month for this small team or whatever it was. And we're not making the numbers. We need to figure something else out in terms of, what we're going to do here. And maybe you could do reach outs, or not trying to change their job, but just if we want to work, if you know what I mean? If there's no money coming in, then we're going to not be working. And it really didn't hit the way that I thought it was going to. Okay, what can I do? How can we, so that when I did have to restructure, the team was shocked. And I was surprised that they were so shocked. Mm. And it made me think, we're going really deep actually today, but it made me think that when we're a business owner, we could mortgage our home or remortgage our home. We could take a loan. We could expand our credit line. We could cash out investments, right? Some of the stuff that I had to do to make sure that I was feeding my team for 6 months. But your team they're employees, so they don't really care in terms of, it's not their job to care. It's
not their job to care. That's more fair, right? I mean,
it's not their job. They did not shoulder this going to somebody else to have all that stress. But what I have seen in terms of cream rising to the top is people who are okay, what can I do? How can I adjust? How can I, put myself, you could also go look for another job, I guess there is that, but when you're working in an office, there is this kind of inclination of, well, I'm not just going to sit here in my open, desk situation where people can see that I'm, online shopping necessarily. I'm going to go and ask someone. And I felt that when things were slow, it's kind of like, well, I'll just go and get some stuff done, run some errands, Netflix and chill. So I feel like that the going to office, it creates other opportunities to generate creativity, to come up with.
Sure. And look, we can go deep just on that topic. And I think it's also important to say that a lot of good, I hate to use that word, but came out of COVID.
Yeah.
We learned a lot of valuable things, and including flexibility. So for instance, I mean, we are in office and proud of it, but it's been 2.5 years now. We were a very early adopter. We are a 4-day work week.
And you didn't get a salary raise.
We did not affect salaries. No. And in fact, we swallowed half of the workload reduction.
Wow.
That has worked extremely well for our team. And today is Friday and I'm in the office and my twin brother is in the office. We sometimes come in to clear our desk.
Yep.
Nobody else is. And that's the way we love it.
That's a huge perk for your staff.
Well, so that's maybe, some of the flexibility. Additionally, who are we kidding? If you have a doctor's appointment, whatever, I think things were more strict before COVID. Now we accommodate that. Those are good things.
Yeah.
But in terms of the job versus career, I think that the person on your team who was not shocked about the restructuring, the person on your team who came in excited, we have people on our team, and I think of Alex in our operations who visits our stores and sends more emails back from the store visits than I would. Catherine in marketing, who just keeps flagging all kinds of crazy, goofy campaigns that she spots on the weekend. Nobody asked for that. We don't need that.
Yeah.
But those are career people.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid that in a day where it seems so simple, because I doom scrolled and saw on TikTok that this guy became 62% of millennials and Gen Zs aspire to being an influencer.
62%? Wow, that's scary.
I think it was 67 or 69% aspire to being rich. The influencer actually sounds better at this point. Those are transactional. Those are jobs. So we have to go back to, why can't we be proud of what we do? That's a career. And if we're proud of what we do, if I'm going to, and it's not just about the work from home, but if I'm going to do my job as a copywriter, for example, and I'm not going to sit here and hear the ideas and hear the pain the other team is having, or hear the inspiration that this team is giving, if I'm not going to do that and I'm going to sit at home, at what point does it become easier for a company to outsource to
a consultant,
the Philippines or ChatGPT?
Yeah.
Those are all transactional. Those are jobs. We're doing a job. We're just doing the job.
But it's interesting that you went to a 4-day work week. There's a book, The 4-Day Work Week, right? Did you read that book? And then
that was a 4-hour work week.
No, but there's another book. Yeah. So what made you, so let's talk about why you decided to go to 4 days, because I think a lot of companies were trying to attract talent during the talent shortage, right?
Yeah.
And we're really focused on their employer brand, but a lot of those things that they put into place just went away. So it hasn't for you though. So
this is the flip side, right? So when we have employees saying, why do I need to be in the office just so that the manager could watch over my shoulders? That's true. Employees should say that.
Yeah.
So there's two sides to this. We need to reconcile in a happy middle. Yeah. But the happy middle, if we could be crass about it, is as a company, we need to thrive so that we can pay you thriving wages.
Yep.
Right? We need to make money so you make money. Let's just boil it down to that essence.
Exactly.
But part of that is I just talked a bit about, I want the employee to be an engaged participant in that ride, in that adventure.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? The employer also needs to be an engaged participant in that adventure. So we spent a lot of money. Our office is pretty cool. And we have an espresso machine that rivals any cafe in Montreal that could easily serve thousands of coffees a day. We're 17 people in the office. And we have a club level sound system in the office, and a lot of debates over what music should be playing, but sometimes those get reconciled and sometimes they don't. So we've invested in that. Why? Because we care. And because I'm here every day alongside you. Well, I'm here 5 or sometimes 6 days a week. But we care about that. We are a very active participant in that adventure. And being an active participant in that adventure means we have to try new things. Like during COVID, we had Blinkist accounts for everybody, which was really popular. And we canned it, I think, 4 months ago, just before the holiday, because nobody wants that. I guess now it's all podcasts. But another thing that we do to remain innovative is think, hey, we heard about this 4-day work week. Could we do that? It's not just being innovative as a brand. Pistachio's big. Let's try a pistachio beavertail. That we have to do that to remain relevant for our fans.
Yeah.
Our team is our number one fan. They make this machine go.
Yeah.
So we need to listen to that. But my lamenting is we're all in this together. The minute I become too cheap, we all lose it. And I'm sitting alone in the middle of the night saying I can't make payroll. And the minute the employee says, I want to work from home and I still want a pay raise and I still want a promotion, you're not engaged in this adventure. You're not part of the party anymore.
Yeah.
So I just want us all to be part of the party.
It's interesting because, one of the things I did love about having a fully remote team, it just worked. And in terms of the work that we do in search is, you're working on roles. So you fill your roles and it's, Thursday. I'm like, hey, just take Friday off, right?
Yeah.
Just take Friday off. You've been busting your butt on filling, these X amount of roles. I've seen how much, work has gone into it. We need to decompress. So being able to give back to your staff.
We cater lunch every time a big enough guest comes to the office, but it's not just for the people in that meeting. We just cater for everybody.
Yeah.
You can do things like that. Guess what? Again, it's just being part of the party.
Yeah. Do we have any questions does anybody have any questions? The poo tail.
No problem. I just like that. LOL.
What is going to be the future of the business? Let me ask you, are you thinking you already have your twin brother is your partner and your wife is, heading up marketing and branding? Do you think you're going to bring the kids in to the business?
So we have, my wife and I adopted 3 beautiful children from Korea who are not children anymore. Well, 20, 17, and 15. I think all 3 of them could work in this environment in different ways, but we celebrate them for all that they are. Our eldest is going into marketing and business and may want to, consider applying. He's not going to get a free ride. But our daughter is hell-bent on early childhood education, is even volunteering at a preschool, is just so in love with being with children. And all we can do is celebrate, and they need to be part of the party, but it doesn't have to be our party.
I've seen a lot of you have too, right? A lot of businesses that were passed down to, the next generation, cousins and siblings and stuff. And it doesn't always work out. And I remember I heard, I was in on a conference and it was for recruitment agencies and privately owned. And they had done a study or a survey more to find out the kids that were working then in that agency, in their parents' agency, if the parents would offer them $1 million or just, keys to the castle, what would they prefer? And they almost all preferred to have the $1 million to pursue their own dreams.
Right.
And it's interesting because, my eldest is, she's working and she's in sales and so on. And a few years ago, my husband and I were talking, and she was there, and he was like, maybe you want to work, in Integria. And I was like, nope. I'm like, you need to go off and build your own dreams and have your own successes and have your own accomplishments in different environments. And then maybe one day you're going to have skills that are going to add value to this business. That's going to look a lot different, right?
Yeah.
But my opinion is, you bring them in early. Sometimes it builds a lot of, skills and grit. Like I remember the founder of Couche-Tard, his son worked literally like store level with a bachelor's degree. He was working store level, right? And he understood the business and he grew in it. There was no free ride there.
Sorry, Sam. All of our head office team, from our lawyer to our senior marketing, everybody has to do one afternoon per quarter at one of our stores.
Yes. Yeah.
But you have no idea in the clown period of COVID, the resistance to that, including very blunt, I have an MBA. Why would I do that? Like, I have an MBA. You don't need to tell me that, okay? This is the stuff of FedEx commercials. Like, are you for real? Yeah. But if we're engaged in it, how dare anyone think that serving our guests is beneath them? We live as a... Yes. I'm almost 60. I still go in regularly. If we can't celebrate what we are, we have no business being in business.
I love that. I love that you call us your guests as well. I'll take that.
Fans, for fans, but your guests and fans.
Guest fans. Years ago, we supported Pepsi Bottling Group before they were reacquired by PepsiCo. And part of the recruitment process at all levels was that you had to get on a delivery truck.
Yep.
And go and see, them deliver their product to the dépanneurs or the retail locations. And I remember one individual who was like, why do I have to get on a truck? I'm going to be wearing a suit in an office. I'm like, so that that the driver doesn't have time at 2 p.m. to come to your office. You want to speak to your driver? You better figure out a different way, because he's not going to the office to speak with you, or she, right? And guess what? That person wasn't a fit, right, with the organization.
My sadness is that we need to teach our kids early on, and I mean in schools as well as parents, that is part of the fulfillment. I have another expression that I really rail against is, we always ask, what do you want to do when you grow up? So I want to be an influencer. I want to be rich. Those are transactional. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be an MBA. I want to be an accountant. I want to have promotions every year. We never stop to think about who I want to be when I grow up.
I love that.
Life has become so transactional. We live in a consumerist world. It's normal that everything is transactional. But does everybody realize that we are less happy as a civilization? Less so in Canada, much less so in Scandinavia. Not doing well in the States. 25 or 26 of the world's happiest countries. Most consumer richest country in the history of civilization.
Yeah.
Because we keep chasing external gratification. I don't know what will make me happy. I looked at TikTok. I don't know what will make me happy. I need a self-help book. I don't know what will make me happy. I need to go off to Europe for 6 months and find myself. Hey, you know what? All of those are good things. I'm not saying they're bad things. But your happiness will come from one source, and that is inside of you. And as a civilization, we are just bereft of the ability to sit with ourselves and think.
Yeah.
What it is that motivates us.
We have this to distract us, right? Well, isn't it Oprah who said, do what you love and the money will come, but it's figuring out what you love, right? So
we're never going to figure it out if we keep looking at,
But, I think back to, if we're talking about kids and jobs and, some of the people that have really impressed me are the people who worked while they were in university. I often will pick that out. Like, I saw your dates and you started working here, so you were doing both. So what does that tell me? It tells me that you know how to manage your time, or maybe you skip class too.
Well, that's other skills.
Right, that's another skill, but you still got the degree, so we don't.
Right.
But I think, even when I look at the service industry, for example, or, I went shopping with my youngest daughter, and from the time that she could get clothes onto a hanger, I'm like, you better put that stuff on a hanger, because I remember working at Le Chateau and having to stay till 9 o'clock at night to get the
folding
hanger and fold. And, I want my clothes folded like Gap, right? So you go to, eat at a fast food, you don't just leave your tray there. Can you pick up your tray? Because who's going to do it? Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And it starts with our kids,
yes.
In terms of having some of those skills, because you can often see who worked in retail, who worked in the service industry, and who didn't. I can usually tell by how you're treating staff, how you're leaving your spot.
Yeah. There's a story circulating. We're on LinkedIn, so let's give LinkedIn a bit of a shout out. It was a male, and in his interviews, the one trick he does is, if you don't offer to bring your coffee cup back to the kitchen at the cafeteria, he doesn't hire you.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, a bit transactional, but the respect.
The respect. I had an interview where I took the candidate for lunch, and he kind of snapped his fingers to get the attention of the waitress. And I remember I asked him, "What are you doing?"
Yep.
What are you doing? He goes, "Oh, I just wanted to get her attention." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah. And
he was a great candidate. Took that back to the client saying, "Listen, interview was great, but you need to know." And they're like, "No way."
Priceless.
They get the job because of how they treated some, but yeah.
Yep. By the way, all of this so far we could have learned from our grandparents if we just took the time to spend with them. But here we are many years later. I guess we didn't. All right.
Right. Yeah. Pino, if you think about some of the things that you're most proud of in your career, what does that look like for you?
First and foremost, working with my beautiful wife. We've been married for many, many years, almost 30 years, and we dated for 10 years before that. So longevity for me matters on all levels.
Congrats.
Working with my twin brother, who I like to joke I've known since birth, and raising our children. I mean, business is important, but those things matter. But from a business perspective, it's looking back. We have something called a brand Bible. It's not politically correct, but we celebrate all of our history. And every time you're a new employee or a new franchisee, I sign one of those Bibles, and it's a hard book printed. And we have quotes from employees from 30 years ago. We have recipes of Canadian, the Caesar cocktail, which was invented in Canada, pancakes to have with real Canadian maple syrup, et cetera, all Canadian stuff. But looking through that book and remembering the folks that have been an active part of this journey. I often look back at our team and I say, you're either an alumni or you're a former employee.
Wow. You
want to be an alumni.
Yeah.
Those alumni, they've been part of life for me. And the stories are priceless, and the memories are incredible, and the friendships are fantastic.
Pino, you and I have known each other for some time, right? Through Yes and whatever. And one of the things that I absolutely love about you and what, one of the reasons why I love BeaverTails so much as well is your humility, how humble you are, through all of your success, and yet you still manage to give back to community, to students. So thank you for being a.
When you like what you do, it really isn't much of a giving back, but.
Well, I think sometimes people feel so compressed for time, right? And but you've managed to share your learnings even here today. Like I so appreciate your time, and I love serving on the board of Yes with you. but you're a wonderful person, and you have a wonderful family, and we wish you just continued success. And
well, you're equally wonderful, but prone to exaggeration. Thank you.
There's the humility again. So you named 3 books. So we again for our audience.
What great brands do, Blue Ocean. Yeah, that would be 2. The Essentialist. Can you not do so much and do what matters?
And there's Srinath's book on Let Me Go.
Yes, you're okay. We're over. But one more? What happy people know.
What happy.
And then what happy kids know. Father-daughter psychology duo. Fantastic. Not that I don't want you to support them and buy the book, but both books break down to. You asked before what builds resilience. We'll answer it in one word from that book.
Amazing.
Curiosity.
Curiosity.
When life gives you lemons, you got to make lemonade. You don't know that unless you're curious enough to ask, what can I do with the lemons? Amazing. The best gift we can share with our kids, with our employees, with our fans, curiosity.
Love it. Pino, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate you. Thanks everybody for listening in today. Appreciate it. And yeah, let's go have a BeaverTails this weekend.
And Pootail. Way to go.
Thanks everybody. Have a great day.
You.
Thanks, Pino.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.